Hello everybody and welcome to your Wednesday critique. No news off the top, so we're going to get right into the images. So we're going to start off with looking at the various monthly lighting challenge visuals. So we'll start with Alfredo today. So Alfredo, such a beautiful job. Like, this is going so well and I'm really happy with this. I think this is looking really great. There are just a few things I kind of want to go over. So one of there's a few things that are going on that are really great. And like, I love that the light is kind of creeping through in some of these areas and picking up some of these edges. It just like really helps define it. Also that it's creeping across the stair and picking up this. It's just creating more shaping and identifying more space within it. One of the areas that I think that would be interesting to pick up on is if the light that's hitting this tree over here was a little bit more like a rim. Now, it doesn't necessarily make sense, right? like logically, it doesn't make sense that that would be rimmed, but I would treat it as like a separate light, even if it's coming from this. But a rim light, do you see how like the rim lights here are so effective? Let's try and get that here, because this is like bigger diffuse light isn't really doing it for us. I also love, do you see like these little artifacts like floating in the air? They just seem like lens artifacts, just really beautiful stuff. And it's just tying the image together, making it feel more cinematic, and I just absolutely love it. Okay, so there are a few things that we can do to really help improve the image. So the first of which is, I think, like, it's interesting because the house and the background are a very similar color. I wonder what would happen if we darken the background back here just a touch more, like just a touch, like a little bit more like this, because that'll allow the house to pop off of it a little bit. And I mean, I still think we can read in here, because my normally what my thought process would be was like, okay, let's minimize the amount of contrast in this region to get our eye to focus in here. But there is so much light, so much attention, so much focus down here that I don't think that we have to worry about that. The other area that I'd like to see improve is, I think the headlights are looking good, but I was looking at them and thinking to myself, like, there's something missing about them. There's a lot of really good qualities going on, like the volumetric light looks great. Again, love how it's just picking up the edge of the bumper there, getting a little bit of reflection in there. It's just really beautiful stuff. But the thing is, I was looking at some reference on headlights, and I realized that in a lot of them, they're breaking down to 3 visual cues. Number 1 is this elongated, like, beam of light that comes out. Number 2 is the lens artifact, which is a little too much here, like the lens flare. And number 3 is kind of a slight haze that's going around the car. So again, glowy interior with a slight haze, beams, lens flare. Haze, beams, lens flare. So I'm wondering if we can't apply that to yours as well. So there's like, we've already got the haze. I think the beams are kind of in place. Maybe make them a little bit more pronounced. Like, let's bring the haze in a little closer to the headlight, allow the beam to stick out a little bit. And then if you want, I think that these examples are like a little on the nose, and they're a little bit, like, this one's way over the top, but these two are just over the top. But like, I think that's something a little bit less than this, like even just like a little bit, like a teeny tiny hint at a flare there would be really kind of cool. So that would be my take there. I also think that we could work to possibly get some reflections in these windows. I think that would be interesting. Nothing too much, but just a little reflection. Now, on to the other image that you submitted. So this one's interesting, and this is more of like a camera thing. So this is a telephoto lens. You can tell because the space is compressed a little bit. Like, it looks very different than a wide angle lens. And this makes me feel safe because I'm looking at this from a distance. I would be interested to see what it would feel like if you switched the lens and made it more of a wide angle lens and pushed it much closer to the object. Because I think that this tall, elongated character would be very cool with a like a low down looking up wide angle lens that would really kind of exaggerate these values. I think this is a great idea from like getting that light on the head of the dog. Let's just take it down because we're not seeing it in other places around there. And then watch out, it looks like the dog might be floating here. So just a little ambient occlusion to ground him into place. And then, yeah, but like other than that, this is looking really good too. Might be good to, and this might, let me see on this one too. They look good here, but like the fence is much brighter here than it is here. And same thing with the house as a whole. So I would just take all that down a little bit so we can really kind of focus in there. But other than that, man, this is looking really great. Really great overall. Nice work. All right, let's look at errands. We've got errands here. So, oh, so you were talking about the volumetric. So let's focus in on that. I think what you have there is very cool, and I think that looks good. But it's a little different than what I had in mind. What I had in mind was more of like a universal kind of haze that. So I like the density back here, but I just wanted to trickle in more into the foreground a little bit more too. So let's not allow it to overwhelm. But do you see how there's like in Alfredo's, there's just kind of a haze that builds as we go back in the distance, but in the foreground, it's just kind of like present. And I think that we could do the same with yours. And so like allow like these red lights to kind of create like a hazy glow in there. But I really like what you have in place. I just think we can add more to it and go a little further with it. Let's see. Come back to you, Grayson. I think there was one more. Yes, Nigel. Okay, so Nigel, we've got, this is your previous one and the update. A lot of great updates. A lot of really cool stuff. So the biggest one that I really, really like is the elimination of what we were seeing there and allowing and simplifying that space, which again, like in a lot of instances is like, no, that's too flat. Let's not do that. But in this particular case, it's drawing attention away from an area that we don't want the audience looking at and pushing them back into this region. So let's see. Okay, so one of the things about the character is I actually, now that we made it a little more glowy, I realized that it's losing some of the definition and shaping. So let's try and go back a little bit more towards this. But what I do like, what I do want to see is a little bit more of the light being pushed into this space. So bring the character itself down and just increase the light being forced into the surroundings right around there. I love this little haze that you got going up here. I think that's looking really beautiful. The haze around here is looking really nice. Car's looking good. Same deal with those headlights. Headlights are looking really great. We've got beam, slight haze, and then it would be nice to get a little of the lens flare as well. The ground is really cool. It's probably exactly how it would be. I'm just concerned that this is going to draw our eye a little bit too much away. So let's maybe take down that light by like 10%, 15 to 20%, somewhere in there, just to get like the super hot whites out of it. But it's really cool. And then maybe then we'll play around with it. That might actually stop it a little short of going off screen there, because it'd be nice if we saw it kind of end maybe. And then I think that the windows are a little hazy. I think they can go darker with more reflection in there. It's actually like the color of them actually looks pretty good here in Alfredo's, like this darker color with just a little bit more of like a glassy reflection on top. So the other thing I was looking at for yours is I'm wondering if so I really like your sky. And I like everything that's kind of going on back here. And I love the updates that you made I like that you've made these more silhouette-y. And like, especially this one back here looks a lot better. I think that looks great. I'm wondering if we shouldn't gradiate the sky and make it darker. Well, there's two things that you could do. I'm trying to think of it being like darker back behind the house here. Like, so back here it gets darker, which would allow the house to, the brighter areas in the house to really pop forward. But there's two ways you can do that. You can either darken the sky that exists there, but one of the things that I like is I like this little rim lighty kind of thing that we're getting on the clouds. So the other option would be just to flip the sky 100 whatever, like flip it around so it's horizontally flipped, and that way this darker and then darken this side a little bit because this side has a little bit less, a less visual interest. And just see if you like it, because I think that might work out really well to allow all this back behind to go dark and really get us to read it there. So, but really great job on that one overall. All right, so Aaron, we got Grayson. Yeah, this is looking really cool. I feel like this is the light shape, like this rectangle here. But there's like this line of it just below. I want to feel that bright in all of it. So this looks beautiful back here. I think that this area back behind looks really, really nice. And then I want to see. So this specular highlight feels a little bit too perfect. I want to feel some more, like, it might be just a matter of changing up the material a little bit, or the texture a little bit, but I want to feel some more like roughness in there, just a touch, or just a variation between the different areas. Like, do you see how there's like a little bit of dirt and like a darker area in the middle there? Maybe just like some lights or something on there just to kind of break it up, because like this spot right there feels a little bit too even. Love these hose shapes, like this stuff up here. It's all looking great. Other thing that you may want to do is, and it depends on how much you want to match the color of this, is that this light is looking a little bit purple. So just pulling some of the red out of it and adding a little bit more green to get it into more of like that color space. But again, not sure how much that matters to you. And like lastly, just as a little thing, I wonder if it would be kind of cool to turn on that little red light and just like allow a little bit of red glow right in there. I think that could be cool too. But really beautiful stuff. I think this is a nice, simple. When I say simple, it's like there's not like a super detailed character in there. There's not like, but you're doing a really beautiful job with the lighting, kind of like. We can feel the atmosphere. We can feel the space that this is in. And it's a really, really brilliant job of that. All right, Jordan. So one of the things looking at this, so make this, I know we talked about this a little bit, make that bigger. And we don't want to read that perfect sphere edge. So we want it to kind of like, we kind of want to glow it up a little bit. So it's just like, this would be one. So we want it to be more like that. Let's blur it a little. Mm-hmm. So maybe just like a little bit more. So it looks a little bit more like that. Like there's just like a subtle difference of brightness in the middle there, right? So we don't want to read it as like a perfect sphere. It's just the hint, the suggestion that there's a light source in there. Okay. I like the darkness that we're getting in this foreground. One of the things that's kind of happened is we've lost some contrast on this back wall. And I'm wondering if we can't get that back a little bit. Just mostly in the darker values, like bringing that back just a little bit ought to help that out a lot. So just something to consider. It's just like it's feeling like it's getting a little bit washed out, and then like the saturation's been kind of lost. Like we lost the green on that. Just something like this to really kind of help bring that in and create just more coolness in the background there, and that'll help like separate the foreground. I love this. I love the light in there with the little these little whatever the shapes are that you're getting to create a little silhouette. I think that's working really well. I don't think you have to worry about turning that light on if that's the one you're talking about. Just watch out for something that's like a dark shape here. It's like seems to be coming along there. So. But yeah, I think this is moving along well. And then lastly, we have Mauro. So I think this is looking really great overall. I like what you did. I like what you did up here, like adding that little bit of difference looks well. The darkness is looking better here. I think we can push it just a little bit more right in there, just like a little bit. And then lastly, let's get some more contrast in the fish, because that's looking a little bit, it's almost like dusty. Let's create a little bit more contrast. So like maybe, mostly in the darks, but like something a little, oof, that's a little too much, but maybe right on there. Something a little bit more in this region to help really get that fish to kind of pop off. But this is huge progress over where we were. I think it's really coming along well. Let's take a look. Yeah, just something to get some more, to read some more darks in there. Because that, we got like a little bit of a brighter space back there so we can play up the darker values. But yeah, other than that, looking really great. All right, everybody. That is it for today. Let me just double check one last time and make sure that we haven't had any last minute submissions while I've been reviewing, and we are all good. We've gotten, I love this GIF. All right. Thank you all very much, and I look forward to seeing what you create for tomorrow. All right. Happy lighting, everybody.